Forget everything you think you know about 60s diets. The real reason everyone was thinner wasn't about fads, it was about these forgotten habits. Steaming plates of bacon and eggs, milk bottles on the doorstep, and kids biking home for dinner at 6 sharp life in the 1960s had its own rhythm. Before we begin, hit like and subscribe. Today we revisit 10 forgotten habits that quietly kept people slim. Step into a 1960s kitchen. The counters are tidy, a cookie jar sits on the shelf, and yet the kitchen is closed between meals. Mothers were firm, no food until the next mealtime. Snacking wasn't seen as willpower. It simply wasn't part of life. What made this work was the kind of meals families ate. Breakfast meant eggs, bacon, toast with butter, and a glass of whole milk food that kept you satisfied for hours. Lunches and dinners were hearty too, leaving little need to graze. Grocery stores didn't devote entire aisles to chips or candy, and the snack industry was barely beginning. Doritos appeared in the mid-1960s, Pringles at the decade's end, but both were considered occasional treats, not daily habits. The result was steady appetites and genuine hunger when dinner rolled around. People came to the table eager, and every bite felt richer for it. Even a rare after-school plate of homemade cookies with milk, strictly portioned by mom, felt like a prize. This rhythm of eating with clear boundaries and real meals kept waistlines trim without diets or calorie counting. In the 1960s, walking wasn't called exercise, it was simply how life worked. Kids walked to school often more than a mile each way, and adults walked to the corner store, to church, or to visit a neighbor. Sidewalks lined suburban streets, and families often owned just one car, which meant your feet were the default mode of travel. Everyday chores added to the movement. Housewives stood at the sink washing dishes, carried laundry baskets up and down stairs, and hung clothes outside to dry. Men pushed manual lawnmowers, raked leaves by hand, and handled repairs with basic tools. Even office workers walked more, getting up to fetch files, heading to the bus stop, or climbing stairs when elevators weren't an option. The result was thousands of steps built into daily life without anyone counting or trying. No one talked about getting their steps in. It was simply normal to move all day long. What we now call non-exercise activity happened naturally, keeping metabolisms active and waistlines slim. When you think back to those days, no snacking between meals, smaller portions on smaller plates, and walking everywhere instead of driving, do you believe life felt healthier, or do you see it as too restrictive compared to today's choices? At 6 o'clock sharp in the 1960s, households across America paused for the same ritual. Everyone gathered at the dinner table. Dad came home from work, Mom finished preparing the meal, and kids knew better than to make other plans. Dinner wasn't just food, it was the heartbeat of family life. The table was set properly, sometimes even with placemats or the good china. Grace might be said, or at least everyone waited until plates were served before eating. Conversation flowed easily, school stories, work, news, even neighborhood gossip, while the television stayed silent in the background. Eating was unhurried, forks were set down between bites, and laughter often stretched the meal to 45 minutes or more. This rhythm naturally prevented overeating. Mom controlled portions, vegetables had to be eaten, and dessert was earned only after a clean plate. By the time seconds were offered, conversation and time had already allowed the body to recognize fullness. These nightly dinners did more than feed the body. They created structure, connection, and a sense of belonging. In an age before constant screens, the dining table was where life stories unfolded. In the 1960s, dining out was an event, not a habit. Families might visit a restaurant once a month for a birthday anniversary or a Sunday celebration. Kids dressed up, parents made reservations, and the occasion carried a sense of ceremony. Fast food was still a novelty. McDonald's had only a few hundred locations nationwide, and a stop there felt like a treat on a road trip, not a twice-a-week solution. Work lunches were packed from home, wrapped in wax paper or tucked in metal lunchboxes. Coffee breaks meant just coffee black or with a splash of cream and sugar, not calorie-laden drinks topped with whipped cream. Because eating out was so rare, families controlled their nutrition almost entirely. They bought the ingredients, cooked the meals, and decided on the portion. Restaurant food was richer and saltier, but with such occasional indulgence, it never overwhelmed the diet. This balance kept waistlines steady and home cooking central to daily life. Eating out wasn't convenience, it was a reward, savored all the more because it was rare. Your comments, keep these memories alive, drop yours below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. In the 1960s, burning calories didn't mean gym memberships or workout plans, it was simply part of daily living. Men came home tired from jobs in factories, construction sites, or farms where muscles, not machines, did most of the work. Women too burned energy and constant motion, scrubbing floors on their knees, hauling laundry to the clothesline, and kneading bread by hand. Even children lived differently. After-school bikes carried them across neighborhoods, and games meant running, climbing, and chasing until dusk. Weekends were filled with yard work, gardening, and home repairs that demanded sweat and energy. Leisure often included bowling, dancing, or pickup games at the park, activities that felt like fun rather than formal exercise. The effect was profound. Thousands of calories burned through ordinary routines without anyone ever calling it fitness. Life itself was the workout. This steady movement kept bodies strong, metabolisms humming, and waistlines trim. When you picture families sharing nightly dinners, shopping for fresh food, and working up a sweat simply by living, do you think we've lost something vital, or have modern comforts given us a better balance? Walk into a grocery store in the 1960s and you'd notice what was missing more than what was there. There were no towering freezer aisles filled with instant meals, no rows of packaged snacks promising weeks of shelf life. Instead, shelves carried food that spoiled quickly, milk in glass bottles, bread that went stale in a few days, and produce that still had dirt clinging to it. Shopping happened several times a week because freshness was the rule. Tomatoes tasted like tomatoes, carrots came with their greens attached, and meat was cut to order by the butcher, who often knew your name. Seasonal eating wasn't trendy, it was simply reality. Strawberries appeared in summer, apples in fall, and root vegetables in winter. This fresh approach to food shaped how people ate. Without hidden sugars or preservatives, meals were simpler portions, smaller in flavors, more authentic. You couldn't binge on junk because it wasn't sitting in the pantry. Instead, dinner meant whatever was in season and cooked from scratch. That closeness to real food not only satisfied hunger, but also connected families to the rhythm of the land and the seasons. Step into a 1960s kitchen and you'd smell onions, sizzling bread, toasting, and a roast slowly baking in the oven. Nearly every meal was made from basic ingredients: flour, butter, potatoes, eggs, and fresh meat wrapped in butcher paper. Convenience foods were rare, and even salad dressing was whisked together with oil and vinegar at home. Cooking from scratch shaped the way families ate. It took time and effort, so desserts like cakes or cookies were occasional, not everyday indulgences. Portions stayed smaller because preparing food by hand meant it carried value. You didn't waste it. And with no hidden preservatives or syrups, flavors were clean and natural. A tomato tasted like a tomato, and chicken tasted like chicken, needing little more than salt and pepper. This habit made meals not only healthier, but also more meaningful. When mom spent an hour making dinner, the family respected the food on the table. You ate what was served slowly and gratefully. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. When you look at the strict schedules, the rare sugar treats, and the home-cooked meals of the 1960s, do you think those routines built healthier families, or do you feel today's convenience is worth the trade-off? In the 1960s, sugar wasn't a daily expectation, it was a treasure. Desserts appeared on birthdays, holidays, or Sunday dinners, not at every meal. Kids didn't grow up with pantries stocked with candy, and adults didn't end every evening with a sweet course. The difference showed in the numbers. The average American consumed about 12 teaspoons of added sugar a day, compared to nearly twice that today. But back then, sugar came from obvious sources: the sugar bowl, a slice of cake, or a piece of penny candy from the corner store. Cereal was plain cornflakes, Rice Krispies, or Cheerios, with parents adding a single spoon of sugar if needed. Soda came in small glass bottles, just 6.5 ounces each, reserved for parties or Friday nights. Because sugar was scarce, it kept its magic. A cookie from mom's oven was exciting, a slice of apple pie was savored, and Halloween candy was carefully rationed across weeks. Without hidden sugars in bread, sauces, or yogurt, people's palates stayed sensitive and cravings were rare. That rarity, more than anything, kept waistlines lean and sweets truly special. In the 1960s, meals ran like clockwork. Breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, and dinner at 6. These times weren't flexible. They were as fixed as a train timetable. Families planned their days around meals, and the rhythm shaped how people related to food. Breakfast meant a real sit-down start. Dad reading the paper with eggs and toast, kids spooning cereal or oatmeal before school, and mom joining in with her own plate. Skipping breakfast was almost unthinkable. Lunchtime stopped, the World Factory whistles, blue school bells rang, and offices cleared out. At 6 o'clock, sharp families gathered around the dinner table for the day's main event. Between those meals, nothing. The kitchen was closed. No vending machines at school, no snack cupboards in offices, no late-night fridge raids. Bodies adapted to this structure, digestion settled, hunger aligned with mealtime, and overeating was rare. The schedule even supported better sleep. With dinner finished early, people went to bed without the discomfort of a heavy stomach. Eating on a schedule may sound strict now, but back then it created a natural balance. Food was an event, not a constant background activity, and that made every bite more satisfying. Imagine sitting down at a diner in the 1960s and ordering a hamburger. What arrives is a patty barely the size of your palm, 3 to 4 ounces tucked into a modest bun. The soda beside it is 8 ounces, not the towering cups we know today, and fries come in just one size that modern menus would call small. Even at home, portions followed this pattern. Dinner plates were only 9 inches across compared to the oversized 12-inch dishes, now common. A bagel was 3 inches wide and just over 100 calories. Today's versions are twice that size and more than triple the calories. Movie popcorn tells the same story, 5 cups to share among friends instead of 20 cups for a single person. What's striking is that no one felt deprived. Plates looked, full stomachs were satisfied, and the idea of supersizing had not even been imagined. Restaurants competed on flavor and quality, not on who could pile more food onto your tray. Families split pints of ice cream, shared candy bars, and treated a single scoop as enough. Smaller portions weren't a punishment, they were simply normal life, and they kept people's eating in balance. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. These weren't fad diets or magic tricks, they were everyday habits that shaped life in the 1960s. From portion sizes that seem tiny today, to kitchens filled with fresh food and family dinners that slowed everyone down, these routines kept people lean without even trying. Looking back, some of these habits feel worth reclaiming, while others may seem impossible in our modern world of convenience and endless choices. What about you if you could bring back just one of these forgotten ways of eating? Which would it be? Your stories and memories matter, so share them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more trips through America's past.